Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mengs, and I welcome you guys back to another hacking tutorial. Today, we're going to be taking a look at custom classes, how to create them, how to import animations for them, and how to put them into your ROM. Now, I've done two videos previously on this topic. If you want to check it out, just check the playlist linked in the video description. But without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. So once you open up Fire Emblem Builder, you will see that there is a menu called the Class Editor. You click on this and it's going to bring up every single class in the game. Here you can see Ephraim's Lord class, for example, Erika's Lord class, their promoted classes. You can see male and female Cavaliers, male and female Paladins, male and female Armor Knights, and so forth. Most classes have a male and female variant, but not all. Like, for example, there is no female journeyman in the game, because Ross is the only journeyman you get, and he's male. There are also no female warriors in the game, nor are there any female brigands, pirates, or berserkers. So if you ever want a character in your ROM hack that is a female equivalent of these classes, you're gonna have to import it yourself. However, you may also wish to import a brand new class like the Halberdier. The Halberdier is a very popular class and one that many people want in their ROM hack, so I figured it would be good for this demonstration. However, first, let's familiarize ourselves a little bit with the class menu. Let's take one of the most basic classes you can find, the Cavalier. If you did not watch my video about character creation, I definitely think you should go and watch that first, because so many of the things I talk about there links into this topic as well. One thing you may notice is that the menus are very similar to one another. This is because a character is a combination of their personal base stats and their class stats. Here, for example, you see the Cavalier's base stats. For a character like Franz, for example, his total stats is a combination of his own base stats as well as the Cavalier's base stats. If you change the Cavalier's base stats around, it will affect Franz as well. In the top part of the screen you can see the unit's basic information, such as its class name, as well as its description. As I highlighted in the character creation video, if you double click on a description, it will bring up the text menu, and this will allow you to change the description of the class. On the right hand side you will see something called menu class. This dictates what the unit promotes into, so in this case we have the Paladin. The generic enemy portrait displays the class card that will show up if you click the unit in-game. If you click on this, you can see that we can cycle through all the class cards. Unless you plan to have your class being used by the enemy, you don't need to worry about this. If you click Ephraim's Lord class, for example, you can see that it has the Brigand portrait, because no enemies will use this class against you in the game. Movement speed is not something you need to worry yourself with, just set it to 1 if it's an armored class and 0 if it's something else. Standing map animations is something we'll go into later when we create our Halberdier class. Here you can see the unit's max caps. For any unpromoted units, this is usually 60 in HP and 20 in everything else. If we click the Paladin, for example, we can see their stat caps as well. In this section, we have the enemy's growths. This will dictate how well Cavaliers will scale as enemies when you meet them in the game. If you change their speed growth from 28 to 38, for example, they will scale up their speed much quicker as the game progresses. Then you have the stat calculator. This is a good tool for finding out how strong a Cavalier will be on average. If you increase the level, you can see how the Cavalier will scale up into the late game. Then you have promotion gains. This is how many stats the characters will get when they reclass into this class. As you can see, the Cavalier promotion gains are 0 because no units promote into male Cavalier in Sacred Stones. But if we go over to female Cavalier, we can see that they actually do have promotion gains. This is because Amelia can promote into a female Cavalier when she's done being a trainee. Then we come to the base weapon ranks. This will just dictate what ranks the class will start out with. In the bottom section of this menu is a bunch of special abilities that you can tie to your class. As you can see, the Cavalier already has some at default. It has the mounted aid calculation, Canto, as well as the cavalry unit icon. As with the character creation menu, you can play around with this. For example, if you want your Cavaliers to be able to wield Shamshears in your hack, you can toggle this button. The last thing I want to talk about is relative power. This is a very important stat that I've left for last, because I want you all to remember this. This dictates how fast a class gains experience. By default, this is set to 3. This is the standard experience gains. If you set the number to be lower, the character will level up faster and provide less experience to other units. If you set the relative power higher, it will level slower and be worth more experience to units. As I said, the standard value for this power is 3. The recruit class that Amelia uses has 1, for example, which is why it gains experience so fast. Manakets have 2, which is why Myr also tends to get a lot of experience when she kills stuff. Anyway, now that we've familiarized ourselves with the class menu, let's make a class of our own. This is where things are going to get a little bit more complicated. In this video, we're going to be changing Seth's base class to Halberdier. Now, if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, we can see that most of these class slots are being used. There are some which the game never loads, but unless you know exactly which one they are, I would not recommend editing one of the base classes in the game, as that could cause problems later down the line. So for now, we are going to be expanding the class menu. So click on the button called Data Expansion. Now, Fire Emblem Builder will tell you that this might cause problems, but you are absolutely free to do this. However, if you are hacking a Fire Emblem 6 or a Fire Emblem 7 ROM, do not do this. You risk breaking the entire ROM. Get someone who knows more about hacking to do it for you. Now, this is the expansion menu. This basically allows us to increase the size of the ROM so that we can put more things into it. Here you can see the amount of class slots that are in the ROM at base and how many Fire Emblem Builder propose you expand to. Usually it will select 255, and this is a good number. So click on Reallocate Data and Repoint. As you can see, we now have an expanded class menu. As you can see, every single new class just defaults to the standard Lord. With this, we have more class slots than you should probably ever need when hacking a Fire Emblem game. Now, when creating a new class, the first thing we need to do is to put in the class's stats. However, what I prefer to do is just to copy-paste from a similar class and then just adjust as I go. Now, as for the Halberdiers, the closest class that I can think of is the General. I always envisioned that Halberdiers were like Generals, just with less defense and maybe more speed. So let's go and find the General class. If you start typing on your keyboard, you can actually find the class really quickly by searching for it. So here's the male General. Right-click on it and press Copy. Then scroll down to wherever you want the class to be located in the game's code. Let's take number 80, for example, and then press Paste. It asks you if you want to overwrite it. Press Yes. And now we have a brand new General class that is identical to the other one. Now, how you choose to balance this new Halberdier class is up to you. Personally, I wouldn't really think about it that much, just play around with it and have fun. But the first thing we should do is to change its name. So open up the text editor, and because I just showed you how to expand the data, let's do the same thing for the text, shall we? There we go. Now we roughly have around 700 extra slots for text in the ROM. So click Search, and search for unreferenced free space, and we can see that we have a bunch of extra text IDs to work with here. Click Write to ROM, and double-click on the text ID. And let's do the same thing with the description. Now here, I would just copy-paste the description, find a new empty text slot. There we go. Now, as for the class base stats, this is really up to you, but I always envisioned that the Halberdier would be a less tanky version of the General. So let's set their base defense down to 8 and increase their base speed up to 7. Let's also give them some skill. I imagine Halberdiers are very skilled, so let's put their base skill up to 9. However, they're probably not as strong, so let's put their base strength down to 5. 21 base HP also seems a little too much, so let's set it down to 18. Now, you may notice there's a little red line around their ID. I don't really know why this happens, but this is a bug that's been in Fire Emblem Builder since I started hacking. The ID just is wrong, so just point it to whatever their class number is. In this case, it's going to be 80. So now we have all the numbers in place for our new class, but it still looks like a General. So we need to import some animations. Now, there are several places on the internet where you can find good Fire Emblem animations, but I recommend Clockinator's Fire Emblem repo, link in the video description. Now remember, if you use someone's animation in your ROM hack, even if they are listed as being free to use, it is still considered very polite to reference them and give them a thank you whenever the ROM is released. Now, on a side note, the repo might look a little different when you visit it, because I know Clockinator is in the process of updating it, but this is how it looks now, and even if it's changed, the process should still be the same. Click on Battle Animations, and it will give you a big list of every single available animation that is uploaded to the repo. Now, we are looking for Halberdiers, so I assume it's going to be under Infantry, and here it is. soldiers, and halberdiers. Now the first thing you'll see is a bunch of folders, but if you scroll down, you can actually see image previews of all the animations and how they're gonna look in the game. Here you can see that it's not just the regular halberdier class, but a bunch of different variations. So you have a lot to choose between here, and I have personally spent hours just looking at all the wonderful animations that are available. Now one thing you can do if you just want to find the regular halberdier is to press Ctrl F and just search for it. You'll have to go through a bunch of folders first, but then you will eventually find what you're looking for. So here you can see that we have both female and male halberdiers. However, only male halberdiers have axe animations. Whatever weapons you wish to give your class is limited by what weapons the animation makers have made beforehand. However, I knew that male axe animations would be available before I started making this video, which is why I chose it. So let's press download. I assume I don't have to teach you how to download something off the internet. Save the animation somewhere on your computer. I propose that you make a dedicated folder for this. And then it is time to import the animations. Now for this, you need to click the animation pointer. It's located right here. This will bring up this menu. Now, because we copied the general class, you will see that there are actually two different classes that uses the same animations. To get rid of this, click on Separate Independence of Selected Classes. If you don't do this, any changes you apply to this class will also apply to the normal general class, so it's very important that you do this. So here we have our halberdier class, and here are all the weapons that they can use. Lances, axes, hand axes, tomahawks, items, swords, and the hatchet. Now, you may ask, Mangs, why does the hand axes each have their own individual animations? And the answer is, I don't freaking know. I was just told that this is the way it is. And yeah, that's the best explanation I can give you. Now we only need to change the animations of the weapons that the class will use. So in this case, pretty much everything except for the swords. You can delete the sword animations, but there's not really any point, since the halberdier will never be able to equip a sword in the game itself. But just for demonstration purposes, if you want to know how you delete an animation from a character, drag the desired animation you wish to delete all the way down to the bottom of the list, click on Data Expansion, and then simply reverse the number from 7 down to 6. Boom, we have now deleted the sword. You absolutely don't have to do this, but some people might find it more orderly. Anyway, let's start by replacing the character's animations. Let's start with the lance. On the bottom right side of the screen, you can see a preview, as well as all the animations that are available in the game. If we click around a little bit here, we can see everything that is available in Sacred Stones. Like for example here, you see the female paladin sword animations. If you want to know what it looks like, you can click on the editor and have Fire Emblem Builder play it for you by clicking Play Animation. Here it will display the animations frame by frame. However, we want to add a brand new animation, which means that we need to expand the ROM once again. So click Data Expansion and add as many slots as Fire Emblem Builder recommends to you. We now have roughly around 50 new slots for animations. As with the class slots, they default to Ephraim's base animation. Scroll down until you find them and select the first one, and then click Import Battle Animation. Then find the folder where you saved your animations. Here you can see all the animations that I've saved over the years. There's quite a few of them. And let's find the halberdier. Now most animations will come in folders like this. Here you can see all the weapons: lance, axe, hand axe, and unarmed. We will need all of these, so that's 4 animations in total. Let's begin with the lance. Click on this file right here. And now we have the halberdier lance animations in the ROM. Again, if you click on Editor, you can get the game to preview them for you. This is smart to do because some animations are broken and glitchy, and you'll see that if you play them here. This animation seems to be working just fine. Now you can either import all the animations at once, or you can do them one by one. I'm gonna do them one by one because I think it's better for demonstration purposes. Now you need to notice the address of the animation, CA. Usually you only need to notice the 2 first characters. I'm gonna click on Lance up here, and in the animation ID, I'm gonna put in CA and press enter. and I was able to find the animations right away. If the right one does not pop up, just scroll up and down a little bit and you should be able to find it. Then I press right to ROM. I have now changed the lance animation of the halberdier class. I need to do this with every single weapon. Let's continue with the axe. Scroll down to your desired slot in the ROM. Here you can see the lance animations of the halberdier. So let's select the one underneath it for order's sake. Import battle animation. Find the axe animations and import them. The address for this one is CB, so let's type in CB and press right to ROM. Now we have the axe animations in the game. Now we need to import the hand axe animations. The address is CC. Let's click on the hand axe and type in CC. Now you have to do this again for every single hand axe animation. Why? I couldn't begin to explain you. This is just how Fire Emblem 8 is coded. Keep in mind that if you ever plan to add more kinds of throwing axes into your game, you're gonna have to add each of them manually in the animation pointer, which is a royal pain to do. Lastly, we need to set the unarmed animations. These are not very commonly displayed, but will be whenever your character goes into battle without a weapon equipped. And the address is CD. And there we go. Now I say we run a test to see if we've done everything successfully. As I said, we're going to be changing Seth into a halberdier. So if you watched my previous video, you know that we now have to open up the unit placer to change Seth's class. Here is the player placement, and here is Seth and his paladin class. You can scroll all the way down, but a faster way to do it, if you remember the number of your class, is just to type in 80. And here we can find the halberdier. Press right to ROM, and let's boot up the ROM by pressing F5. Now, as you can see right here, Seth is a halberdier, but his overland map animations are still weird. This is because we haven't set them yet, and we will do that next. However, first, let's just see if his base animations work the way they should. Let's select Seth, and let's have him attack with a lance and see if it works. Now, Seth is still able to use swords because I haven't edited his personal bases yet to remove his sword rank. So if you try to attack with the steel sword, no animations will display. However, if we use the silver lance, the halberdier animations should play properly. And it turns out that they do. However, he still looks like a general on the overland map, and as an Ephraim Lord whenever he moves around, so let's change that next. Now, this is a little bit clunky and not very intuitive, but there are two kinds of animations we need to import. A moving animation and a standing still animation. The moving animation you can get by clicking on ID. By default, this will create a new entry for you. As you can see, this is slot 80, which is the same as the halberdier. Now, as for where to personally find these animations, you can find them on the repo, but I also like this Google Drive, which I'll be linking in the video description. I usually just click on Graphic Repository. I find Map Sprites, Infantry, and then I get a nice selection of different map animations for infantry classes. Scroll down to load them all in, and then I simply prefer to search for whichever ones I want. Here you can see a bunch of different animations for the halberdier. I think I'm going to select this one, it just looks the nicest. Here you can see the moving map animations, as well as the standing still map animations. The standing still only has 3 frames, whereas the moving ones have a lot more, because they have to be shown moving in every different direction. Alright, so go back into the class menu and click on ID. These are the moving map animations, so let's import them first. Sometimes you might get an error message saying that the colors are off, but Fire Emblem Builder will offer to fix them for you, and you can just click yes on that. Double click on the halberdier. Again, this will mess up the ID for some reason. I don't know why Fire Emblem Builder does this, but just again, input the correct address, 80. Now we need to change the standing animations. You can fix that by clicking on this image right here. Again, not very intuitive, but this is just how it is. Now for this one, you will need to assign a new slots. As you can see, we have the baseline general standing map animations right here, but if we override those, we will also override every single general in the game. So scroll down, and we probably will need to do another data expansion here, so let's just get that out of the way. Allocate as many new slots as Fire Emblem Builder recommends. and then find one of the empty ones. 6B is a good slot. There we go. Double click on it, and then write to ROM. Now your custom class should be just about done. The only thing I would like to point out now is that because I copied this class over from the general, the halberdier now will have the same penalties over rough terrain as the generals have. So for example, if you're in a desert map, the halberdiers will hardly be able to move at all. So if you wish to change this, click on movement costs, and then press separate independence of selected classes. The halberdiers now have their very own movement costs. And there you have it. Let's boot up the ROM and let's see how Seth performs. Here you can see that his halberdier animations are properly in the game. He has standing animations, and if we select him and move around, we can see that he also moves around on the map just like he's supposed to. However, as you can see right here, he still has a sword rank, so let's just fix that really quick. And we can see that Seth now works as intended. He has no sword rank, but he has an axe rank and a lance rank. Let's attack with a hand axe to see that the animation is working properly. Very good. So those are the basics of creating new classes and importing animations. There is a lot more to talk about in regards to classes, such as promotion paths and whatnot, but I will save that for a later video. If you have any questions or if you feel that something wasn't properly explained in this video, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll answer as best as I can. Check out the playlist for more topics on Fire Emblem hacking, and let me know what you guys would want me to go into next. Thank you so much for watching, my name is Mengs, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!